What is up, guys? Welcome to the ThinkComputers Weekly Tech Podcast. This is episode 441, and our podcast is brought to you by Amazon. If you go to thinkcomputers.org/Amazon and happen to purchase something, that gives us a little kickback and keeps the podcast ongoing. With me, of course, is my faithful co-host, Ryan. What's going on?
Not much, just like enjoying some of this weather. I commented how it was like so much brighter in
It is brighter
area,
here.
And you're like, time change. I was like, oh yeah, we did have that, but around here, like outside, like just an hour ago or so, it was like 76 outside, which is just awesome. So spring's getting here, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's
always nice.
It's actually been rainy here in SoCal, so the past couple days has been rainy, but the sun is currently out right now. But I am enjoying the time change. That's the biggest thing. Like the sun doesn't set till at least 7 now. It was like 5 o'clock, and that was just horrible.
Yeah, I mean it wrecks my kids' schedules, right, with getting them to bed and everything. But this year hasn't felt as bad as previous years. But anyhow.
Yeah. But this week is a special week. So this is something I've been planning on doing, and we're finally getting around to it. Is at least once a month, we're going to have a special guest on, whether that's another creator in the tech space, somebody who works in the tech space, like somebody from a company, or just somebody cool who we think is going to be really interesting for the podcast. And this week, we have JonJonTech in the house.
What is up? ThinkComputers podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the show.
What up?
Yeah. For those who don't know JonJonTech, he's pretty big on TikTok. I actually met you, was it 2 years ago?
Oh, almost 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Was it Gigabyte was having an event.
San Diego Gigabyte event.
Yeah, and it was like me and Ryan, you know Winston from Funky Kid. It was like we were like the OGs who were there. And then there was like these like new TikTok guys. And we're like, oh, these are the new TikTok guys. And John was one of those guys. And we became friends and saw him at CES. Was it that year, I think? And then then I saw him at a couple other events and saw him at CES again this year. You met him this year. Was that the first time you met him?
No, we met.
No. We met a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Ryan has met John, and let's like the thing that's interesting about you is we always talk about how people got started in tech, and I don't think I've ever actually like sat down and talked to somebody who started your tech journey on TikTok, right?
Yes. Oh, okay. So social media wise, how I started was I was a gamer streamer.
Okay. Yeah. Like on Twitch.
On Twitch, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't JonJonTech. It was some Star Wars name that I probably you have to go down the rabbit hole to really understand.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways, JonJonTech was emerged once TikTok was like, they had like so during quarantine, there was like a tech phase where everyone was like building their own PC and keyboard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure.
And they were like, okay, mind you, when I say young people, it's like the super young people, like 12 years old to like 15. And they're like the new streamers too. They were building their PCs, and what they were kind of saying was like true, but not true. So I told myself, I think I need to say something, or at least like kind of educate the tech talk world. So I started making videos about RAM and then graphics cards, and this was when the 30 series was like impossible to get.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I emerged. And then everyone was also customizing their keyboard, and I posted like a typing video, and it was like a meme video at first, and a lot of people commented saying, hey, you type really, really fast.
You do. I've seen your videos, and I'm just like, wait a minute.
and but to me, like that's like normal or average speed, because everybody at our age would have to take like a computers class, and to pass that class, you have to hit like I think a certain amount or a certain threshold. So again, I thought this was like a normal thing. But the fact that everyone was like, dude, can you do another typing test? How about, can you do it on this keyboard? Can you do it with that? And I'm like, sure. So that's kind of how I capitalized on my short form content. And from there, it was like an ASMR / like typing speed. I was the keyboard guy for the longest time. So
Yeah, I see some of your typing videos, and I'm like, because every time I do a typing video, like if I review a keyboard and I do like a typing test. People are like, you type like that? Like I don't type correctly. Like I don't think I was ever properly taught, I guess.
Have those classes that he's talking about? I mean, I remember like, yeah, exactly. Having to type a certain word per minute and like you only got so many mistakes. You didn't did you
exactly.
not have that, Bob?
Yeah, like, no, I had this. We had typing classes, but again, like Ryan, we are old.
I know.
It was on like a Mac.
That's true. Yeah, like who knows what it was on. But
yeah, no, I had those classes, but I don't know. Every time I do a typing video, somebody comments like, "How do you type like that?" So I must type really weird. I don't know. I also get that on some of my mouse videos, like how I hold my mouse. People think it's weird, but in any case, we have Tech with Song in the chat. He goes, "My man, John. So good to see you here."
What's up, Song?
But yeah, that's It's pretty interesting to see how I think for a lot of, at least for us, like being a little bit older in the industry, it's cool to see people who have come out of short form, right? Because short form is so big now,
right?
But when it first came along, all of us were like, yeah, we're just gonna stick to long form. But now, like, you have to do short form. Like there's like no way to not do short form. But it is the easiest way to grow, I would say, too.
100%.
You know.
So how long before you got into like the TikTok, you said, you're streaming on Twitch. How long were you doing that? And was like, did you start PC gaming and then like immediately go into streaming on Twitch, or was like PC gaming something you had always done and grown up with?
So,
and then like what made you start on Twitch?
Fortnite. Fortnite was like the game.
Yeah.
And I was I was competitive with Fortnite. Okay. So it was to the point where I was a Twitch rival. That's like another story, but so I got really good at Fortnite and I was like, dude, I can totally kill Ninja, something like that. So that's when I tried to really capitalize on like the streaming game, but then only to find out that streaming in itself is a different like mentality, mindset. You have to always kind of smile, be entertaining, and that's exhausting on top of trying to be competitive, right? So that was not for me. Making videos and capitalizing on the content, I can record my gameplay and then upload it later and get a couple likes. And that to me was amazing. That to me was like fun. So I kind of developed that passion in making short form videos there. And on top of that, I was mixing in tech, and slowly and surely, that's when I changed my name to, you know what, that Star Wars name no one can even pronounce. So I'm just gonna call myself my name.
We're gonna have to find this. We're gonna have to find this.
I'll tell you what it is at the end, and then I'll tell the whole story because it's super uninteresting. It's not. You got to be a diehard Star Wars fan.
I mean, if you would know my first online name,
it's probably like a similar story.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But no, that's super cool and interesting because it's always, like I said, it's always cool to see where people kind of get into this whole realm. And yeah, I had no clue that you were streaming before that. Cause like I said, I just saw you and then I was like, oh, this guy's on TikTok. And then I saw your TikTok. I was like, oh, he has some really cool videos. But for you, you are kind of like the keyboard guy, I would say.
I would say I know who types fast on a keyboard, but like customizing, getting like really into that hobby, it gets really, really complicated and everything's like preference. So I can't really tell you like what's the best, well,
that's the biggest thing. With a lot of products, especially products like you're sitting down and using, I always tell people like, you need to go try it for yourself because I might really, really like it, but then somebody might hate it.
Absolutely.
Even Ryan and I have gone back and forth on certain products. I'm like, oh, this is so comfortable. This feels great. He's like, yeah, this sucks.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like you sent me this Asus mouse the other day, right? Because I really wanted to try it out. Yeah. And I've got this HyperX mouse next to it, and like you look at them and they look almost identical in shape and form, but like you put your hand on it and you're like, oh no, I prefer one over the other. 100%. So like same thing with like keyboards, like you said, like what switch type do you like? What kind of dampening?
Exactly.
It's all so much of it is preference.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I would say you're doing a lot of really interesting stuff, and I like the way, especially last year, everybody did like a CES recap video, and last year you were like, yours was all about gratitude, like how happy you were that you got to go. But it was super cool because everybody's like, I saw this, I did this, and even I did that. Like I saw this, I did this. But yours was like really, really cool. Just like I feel like you're one of those creators who's really thankful that this is like something you get to do. Some people are just kind of doing it, or they're like, we all obviously want to get paid, but I feel like you're really happy that you get to do this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Main reason why is because I am, and not many people know this, but I don't do this full time. I have a full-time job, which is I'm an insurance broker and real estate investor, and having a quote unquote 9 to 5, and then you go through your day after 5 o'clock hits, I do my daddy duties. And by the time I get to do the stuff I want to do, which is my passion now, it's 10 p.m. So from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's when I'm making videos, editing, or scripting, or what have you. But during those 4 hours, I'm having a great time. And that's the part that's kind of like where I show gratitude, or that I'm super grateful for, is because when you find that little urge where you want to perfect, or like you want to, like, you're excited to work on, right? It's not work anymore. It's more of like, it's fun. So that was kind of the theme of that video, was if I never did that, I wouldn't have been able to work with brands that I've ever, dreamt of. But now that it's a reality, it's like, this is crazy. How many people can say, hey, I work with Asus? Hey, I work with MSI. Hey, I work with what?
I remember. I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's being in it so long. Sometimes you do get a little jaded, or like everything kind of becomes the same. But at the same time, you have to think about it like you say, like, especially just recently with like graphics card launches, it's like these companies are only sending out a handful of these cards, and you're lucky enough to get one.
Right.
I think it's great that you're really into what you're doing, like you're really actually enjoying it, and you can show that in your video. I think that's awesome. So
thank you. I'm glad someone noticed, because it's like, everyone's just like, this is so and so, this is what it does.
That's the biggest thing, is that I feel it's so hard to connect with people on social media, because everybody's just going like this, right? They're just all scrolling, and it's just like, if this isn't interesting, I don't care type thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's super cool. And it, like I said, it's good to see somebody in this industry that's actually having fun. And it's not about the next sponsored video. It's just like, this is something fun that I'm doing. Like I said, I think that's really awesome. So I would say you definitely cover a lot of keyboards.
I saw a hard to build in there at one point. Right?
You want to talk about your PC? Tell us about what's in your current PC.
Yeah, that's one of your questions that you had ready. So my current PC is a custom loop rig sponsored by Fantex.
Nice.
And it's featuring the Fantex Easy Water Cooling Kit. And before you can even do anything, by the way, shout out to my man's Harji, Hardline Nexus, because he's the one who he's my mentor. He's the one who taught me how to do it.
Nice.
So I was so excited to be bestowed this project, because the first person I texted was Harji. I said, hey, I'm going to impress you, and if I mess up, then obviously you were a bad teacher. Simple as that. But no, everything worked out fine. It was really easy to install everything. And as intimidating as custom looping is, it's not all that bad. It's just like a couple extra steps with water. So
Ryan and electronics, right?
Ryan is our resident water cooler, so he knows.
I just tore my loop apart last weekend. So
did you?
Yeah. Well, I got a new GPU, and
nice.
I don't have a block for it, and it's just time to redo the whole thing. So,
whoa! Spoiler alert! He just said he has a 50 series. He just says there's no water block for it yet.
Yeah, there's one for this card out there.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Excited to see it.
So I haven't picked that
up.
What
hardware wise, what's in your system?
AMD 9950X CPU, the X870, Asus again, RTX 4080, and everything's custom looped. So there's a GPU and CPU block, 2 radiators, D30 fans from Fantex, 64 gigabytes of RAM, 2 terabyte SSD, 2 of them. Nice. So there's 4 total.
Sweet.
Nice, solid build.
Yeah,
get you through the day, get you through your gaming.
Enough to play Marvel Rivals.
Yes, yes. I saw it. I was gonna ask
Yeah.
that next. I was like scrolling. I'm like, all right, I see the Spider-Man video here. Is who do you main in Rivals?
It's Spider-Man.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man, but they're the most egotistical. So once someone insta-locks Spider-Man, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that game at all.
You're not? You're more of an Overwatch?
I'm more of a Apex.
Oh, okay,
Apex,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we play a lot of Apex, but I get him to like allow us to play Rivals on stream for a little while. So
I mean, it's an enjoyable game. It's just, it's not my cup of tea.
It's not competitive enough.
Yeah, it's just like I just feel like I'm just clicking buttons the whole time.
Yeah,
like,
you are.
But yeah, that's just what I feel when I play Rivals. But so as far as keyboards go, who do you have a favorite brand of keyboard that you like? I see you're wearing a High Ground hoodie. Is there a specific brand that you like, or is there?
The only reason I'm wearing this is because on the back there's a Gundam on it. But High Ground's the worst keyboard. No, I'm kidding. Right now, custom. Okay, so I only do like if I ever were to buy a keyboard right now, it would just be custom built keyboards, and that's like the straight up like DIY ones where it just comes with a case, PCB, plate, and you have that extra like additional charge for switches and stuff like that. Like I want to build it to the ground up. Right now it's QK, which stands for QWERTY keys, and Neo, which is also made by the same people. But those are like my go-to brands to buy a custom keyboard.
Nice.
QK and Neo. And
I'll
then
check those out.
Yeah.
I've never done my own custom. Like again, I actually did bring out my High Ground.
Oh heck yeah, that's the the newest one, or one of the new ones.
Yeah.
But
yeah, super comfortable. This is actually the first High Ground keyboard that I've had a chance to take a look at. Very comfortable.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I do like it.
Oh,
I like the form factor and like the key. I mean, this is like a really cool.
It's like cell shaded almost.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's called cell shaded. Really cool.
It's like inspired by like the Borderlands graphics.
Yeah.
So it literally looks like a video game keyboard on your desk, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I have like sort of like a cell shade, sort of like mouse mat, so the whole thing's going to go together once I get everything all set up. But yeah, no, I really liked High Ground. Like I always saw you do a bunch of videos with them, and then I was like, I got this one in, and I was like, oh, this is actually like quite nice, because I had heard about them, but I had never tested, so it's just. But they do have so many collabs, like
they have so many
cool collabs. It's if you like something, it's pretty high probability that High Ground has made.
Can you see like my top shelf?
That's
High Ground collaboration keyboards.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I work very close with High Ground.
Yeah, they got an Apex one there for you, Bob. A couple of them.
I've seen them. I'm kind of jealous. Besides High Ground, do you have any other brands that you really like working with, or you really like their products?
So here's the thing. I'm a shill for Asus, but there's a good reason why I'm a shill for Asus. So before I was even working with Asus, they were the brand that I really like dreamt of working with. So my first couple PC builds like had some sort of Asus products or PC parts in it. And ever since then, I've known, grown, and loved Asus products ever since. So it was always like an Asus motherboard, now Asus graphics cards, even though they're like premium, they're a little more expensive than the other ones. I'll be down to pay that extra $1 just so it's an Asus GPU or something like that. So Asus is my number one. Number two, I've gotten close to Sony in the past year, which is pretty awesome because again, Sony's like one of those big brands that you'll never ever like think of working with, but all of a sudden now you have like a really close rep that's kind of just on like speed dial, or you're just texting them, and it's kind of cool.
So we have to talking about Sony. We have to convert Ryan to a Sony shooter because I shoot Sony. Oh, you shoot Sony. He's a Canon guy, and
he's always complaining about my slow focus.
Slow focus. You can't, if it goes like that, boom, focus.
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right, we'll put the.
Oh, geez, so slow. Look at
grab it.
It might be the lighting. It might. I don't know.
It may be. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Kind of. There you go.
But who knows? It could have been the.
I always give Ryan shit because he shoots Canon. Not that there's anything wrong with Canon.
Nothing wrong.
I just love. My first ever real camera for shooting content was a Sony.
Oh, okay.
And the autofocus was it's still impeccable. And
it is very fast. It's very nice.
Their sensors are definitely top notch.
Yeah,
one of the ones you don't want to compete with.
I think if you're doing video, it just kind of makes sense.
Right.
You don't want to have to wait for that focus to come in, and I just think Sony does it the best. I haven't really played with any higher end Canon cameras. I just see what happens on Ryan sometimes. So, but yeah, no, that's cool. Like I see some other people working with Sony too, and I'm always like, oh man, that'd be so cool. And like Sony does, like some of the events that Sony has with creators is just some really cool events. Yeah, crazy.
It gives you the biggest FOMO, and I'm like, how do I get there? Like, what do I have to do?
Yeah, that's exactly. That's part of this whole journey is kind of trying to work with brands. But I mean, Asus is a great brand. We've worked with them for a long time as well, and people see whether it's graphics cards, motherboards, they just see like these brands, but they don't know that we do really technical reviews, and they don't really know like the specifics of what goes into certain motherboards, or like why an ROG board or graphics card is more expensive than another brand, or why the super high-end boards like the Maximus and things like that, like why they're so much more expensive. If you guys haven't read our motherboard reviews, check them out because I go into detail on all of that. But there is a level, it's like getting a Chevy and then like getting a Lamborghini. There's a big difference.
That's right.
But yeah, no, it's really cool when you're a fan of a brand and then you start working with 100%. That brand, you're like, oh wow, this is awesome. And then sometimes it gets to the point too where like you're actually giving input on product, and that's really cool as well. So
well, and like you mentioned, John, you have that contact there that you're like texting with, right? So it's also the people that are behind that brand that you interact with, right? Those relationships that you build, those contacts that just happen to be at that brand, and those are part of what makes that brand or those brands like so great.
Absolutely,
as well, not just the product.
And I know you brought up CES recently, but I think that's the reason for CES is just to one, show face, and then two, like that relationship only grows, especially if like after a year of working together, you show yourself and it's just like, yo, what a crazy year. Like let's do it again.
What like the events, a lot of times it's not as much about the product, it's about just kind of connecting with everybody. And I always just go like CES is always so much fun just to see everybody, like seeing seeing other people. That's one of the best parts about it.
I was catching you like right outside of like the MSI party, and I was dang, I was super late.
Did they finally let you in though, right?
No, they let us in, but it was just, it sucks because like you were leaving and I was finally
I know I was being an old man. I was like, like this party is cool, but I just like want to go to bed. We got long meetings coming up. Like,
you were being responsible.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good.
Now, if you would have met me when I was your age, I was not responsible at all.
That's me right now.
That's all I hear is these stories of
I was out partying.
How cool he was, but
But now it's just, just in bed early so we can wake up, go to the next meeting.
There you go.
But that's what the events are. That's what the events are all about, is just connecting with people. And of course we're going to cover the products, but
for sure.
It's great seeing everybody. Now I want to ask you, what is do you have a favorite video that you've done, that you've put out that was like, doesn't matter if it was like your most popular video, but like, do you have a favorite video that you've done?
Last week, I finally delved into kind of like the family lifestyle, montage type thing, and it was filmed on the DJI Osmo Pocket, which
when you went to
Disney World.
Was that the Disney?
Yeah.
How do you? That's the best camera for when you're on the go.
That's why I didn't bring. I mean, sad to say, that's the reason why I didn't bring this. That big of a camera was because it literally just fits in your pocket, and then I also had the Ray-Ban Metas, So
nice.
any like moment that I felt like was worth capturing, I can easily just click a button or.
That's the hardest part is trying to be in the moment, especially you have one daughter? Yeah, so you have a daughter, and like you don't want to miss those moments by being on your camera.
That's right.
But you also want to capture the moments, and I feel like at least I've seen the Ray-Bans, like they're really good at you just like press it, it records, and you can still be in that moment. I think that's one of the cool things. And I think as tech goes along, it's going to get even more and more where you're not taken away from the moment by trying to record something.
And that's what I'm super excited about, because they did very well with the Ray-Ban Metas. The only downside is I look like Clark Kent when I wear it. Like it's like really thick frames.
I just looked at them. Yeah, they're very thick.
Yeah. That's the only downside, but I'm very confident that they're going to fix that. You know, maybe
everything's going to get smaller. You're eventually going to put in like a contact or something
that's crazy.
that has everything, and you just like press your temple and it just does it.
No, you just think like record.
Or you just think like it's going to be
artificial eyeball. I mean,
everything's going to be
storage is so small, it's just always recording. So
my God.
And then the AI determines what the best moments were and puts a video together.
You don't
have to do anything.
You know those girls that do that, like, hey, I went to work today, I did this, I did that. Like, that's just a thing. You just like go through your day and then you just press the button and it just puts that video together for
Those vloggers are what I aspire to be in terms of lifestyle, because it's so simple. It's digital journaling, and it's like they get so much views for just knowing what you do day to day.
Yeah, there's this guy.
That's interesting to people. I think people, and I do it too. I do, especially like with like travel vlogs and stuff. It takes you away from like your normal everyday, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why I think it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I found a guy recently, like, I don't know if it was on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, but it's like him getting ready to go to work, and he like puts his laptop in the bag real nice, and it's just exactly that. It's like gets to work, does these things, and it's like, and it's entertaining, and it's like you would have never thought you'd want to watch someone do this.
Yeah, there's this bus driver that does the same thing, and then he's like blowing up because all he does is he drives a bus, he greets his the people that ride the bus, and then he goes on like solo field trips or has lunch, and that's it. That's his day.
I feel like my day would be so boring. Yeah, I took these products out of the box. I took pictures. I sat here. I did news on the website. Like
I don't know. You should.
That's so many.
Document.
You unbox so many things.
Yeah. That and you should document your carnivore diet. That's what's super interesting.
Yeah.
Did I just out you? I didn't mean to out you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you met me when I was fat, so you've seen the transformation.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize Bob when I saw him the second time. Is what he's basically saying.
40 pounds gone.
Dang.
So you know what's crazy? So when talking about that, so like we record ourselves, right? And I'll like something will pop up or somebody will comment on an old video, and then I'll bring that old video up and I'll be like. Holy shit! I like why didn't anybody tell me that I was like getting fat, you know? And but no, I was actually thinking about doing like that because I get so many questions. Like I'll post it every once in a while, and then tons of people ask me about it. So I think I should do something.
100%. So small story here was me and Bob and Ryan were invited to a Micro Center for the HYTE. I forgot the exact event, but they had a boba stand, and we got boba, and I was drinking it, and Bob's like, I can only get a sip, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like I can only taste it, and then you just threw away the rest of it, right? You just sipped it, and then you
I didn't have that much of it.
Yeah,
I was
and
I was hardcore in my diet. I was like, this looks so good, and I really want it, but then I was like, diet, you know.
You're dedicated to it though. Like you've done very well.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but once you do it, I always tell people it's really hard. It's like the first couple months are super, super hard, but once you do it, all of those cravings go away and you don't want snacks. You don't want anything. That's the thing that kills you is the snacks, I would say. So
dang it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you're Asian. You don't gain weight. So, you know,
not yet. Once I hit 50, it's over.
You think?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, so talking about your videos, we're going to go into some of your videos. What's your fastest typing, like words per minute?
Okay, the fastest typing off record is 192. I have not hit 200 yet, and That's one of my many failures in life is I have not hit 200, and then I developed carpal tunnel. So there is no way I can hit 192 again. But on record, I think it's like 187, something like that. There's one video that's like pretty high up there.
Nice, nice. And what is your current everyday keyboard that you're currently using? Like what's in front of you right now?
What's in front of me right now is the Zoom TKL. Nice. With Wuche Studios quartz switches, and if you guys are a fan of One Piece, this is Gear 5 Luffy custom keycaps. Nice. I don't know if you guys are One Piece fans, but
nope,
he's a cool.
Ryan doesn't even Ryan
of it, but like I don't.
Yeah. I'm not super big into like certain custom keyboards. I like keyboards like I said, like this that I can just buy. It's the whole thing and it's ready to go.
Okay.
I do need to build a custom keyboard. I also do need to build, and Ryan's told me for years is to do a custom loop. I still haven't done that either. So
he's afraid.
Why are you afraid,
you said that
Bob?
Fantex Easy Fit would be a great like first start.
Easy Fit with the new Evolve, right? The Evolve case.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
We're gonna be talking about that. Your boy is actually featured in our
of course he is.
In our
that guy
case mod of the week. So
I taught him how to lift. So
you got old man say hello.
Oh yeah, we have old man in the chat. Good to see you here. We haven't seen old man in a couple of weeks.
I know.
I don't know what he's been doing. But all right. So your current system, it's good to go. You don't think you're gonna be upgrading your main system anytime
soon, unless it's a totally new PC. That's somehow better, like I don't know, an RTX 5080 custom loop with a 9950X 3D. I don't know. We'll see.
You go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think when you're on a 4080, like that's gonna be pretty good for a while.
Especially when it's custom looped, it's chilling. It's
it's awesome. I love watching those temps
just not move, right?
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
I had a 3090 air cooled in this system before I put this 4070 Ti in here, and that thing was so inefficient. When we would game, it would sound like a jet engine taking.
Oh,
it was pretty bad.
Yeah. Old man in the chat said he bought some custom Shinchan.
Nice. Love Shinchan.
Old man has a bunch of keyboards as well. He's
he's
a keyboard fiend. He's always buying.
Let's go, old man. Shout out to you.
Yeah. And then to kind of end things off, talking about you, is there any tech that you're looking forward to, or anything you're looking forward to in the this year or coming up? Whether it's tech, whether it's events that you want to go to, or anything like that.
This year, I'm in the market for a new TV. So anything OLED, 4K, at least 120 FPS, smart TV that has Crunchyroll, we're good. But in the future, definitely like those thinner looking frames for the Ray-Bans, maybe something from DJI, upgrade from the Osmo Pocket 3, even though it's a pretty good camera in itself. Like
they don't handy. Upgrade those that often. Like
I have the first one.
Yeah, from like the second one to the third one was like 3 years or 4 years.
Yeah,
I think it was a long time.
They should come up with that recreational drone that just follows you now. So everyone will just have their own drone buddy.
I feel like DJI is slowly taking over GoPro. Like GoPro really hasn't. There's so many videos on YouTube now too that are
Insta360 is already better than GoPro.
Yeah.
So just saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of due to. I have a Hero 10.
Okay.
And I'm kind of due to upgrade my action camera, and I'm like, I'll probably end up going DJI.
Yeah. Check out the Insta360, the one with the stick, but then it's like invisible.
Yeah, I have the X3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, there you go.
I don't use it a ton. I'm getting ready to use it next week though. I'm going on a ski trip, so I'm like gotta get it all ready. And then I have like the mic adapter, which they've got to figure out something different. They've got to go either like the DJI route and just it's built into it, so I don't have to open up a panel. And now I got to risk water getting in there because the mic adapter has to fit into the USB Type-C. It's not like snapped in with a rubber seal or anything. And so that's I'm kind of like debating whether to use that or not. So I don't know. We'll see.
Are you actually going to edit the footage? Because I've never seen any Ryan.
I don't know. I have hundreds of gigs from last year.
Yeah, and I never put out. He's never
released anything.
Well,
I need to.
journaling.
I need to use the follow me option on there to keep me in frame, because last year I didn't do that because I was just messing with it and like trying to keep like watch my son, who it's his first time skiing, and hold this thing, and so it was like I'm just gonna record this and we'll mess around with it later.
Yeah.
So. Well, that's the best thing about the 360 camera.
Oh yeah, just reframe it.
Yeah, you can just reframe and everything's kind of in the shot, which is nice.
Because GoPro, like, you still need to get those like mounts for your head or your chest, and then if you want someone or something in frame, you have to turn.
Yeah.
Look at it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why DJI and Insta360 is winning, is because they have that auto tracking, face tracking feature that's pretty handy.
Especially it's definitely handy, and especially when it comes to if you're somebody who wants to, especially with like the Pocket 3, you can make it look like somebody's filming you. I mean, I guess if you like know the Pocket 3, you can tell it's the Pocket 3 doing it.
Yeah.
But if you want to be like, oh, like to actually make it look like somebody's filming you, using the Pocket 3 is actually really good for content creation.
Yeah, we got to get into that lifestyle vlog feel.
Yeah.
Right. Got to make tech a little more interesting. So.
Yeah. Is there anything interesting that you're kind of taking a look at now, or that you like having to review, or it's just kind of
right now? Okay, right now I'm like drowning in motherboards.
It's never a bad thing.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing.
But
that just means I have to start building with them, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like swapping motherboards is the hardest thing versus the power supply. But motherboard is just like you mount it and then you do your benchmarks or you test, and then you got to do it all over again.
Yep. That's why I have dedicated test systems, test bench. You just pull the motherboard real easy. Yeah, very cool. Well, like I said, it's good to kind of get some background on you, because we've like hung out and talked so many times, but like we never talked about kind of like
you're not that far from me, so we got to hang out too.
I always say come down and get sushi. This guy goes to like a really good sushi place that I'm like, oh, thanks for the invite, and you know.
Mind you, there's 2 locations. It wasn't the one next to you.
I know.
But you're right. Let's go get that sushi spot around your area. I'm down.
Anytime you want to come down, or anytime I'll come up that way. Or of course we can always like go to Micro Center, you know.
100%. Yep.
And they always have events and stuff too. So one thing I'm not into, which I know you're into, is the Pokemon cards. I'm not into the Pokemon cards.
You're not into that? That's okay. I'm more into okay. Background story here is, so it's my wife's birthday this week. The only reason why I'm super into it right now is because she's like a big fan of like the Evolutions, which is that new set that everybody's fighting for it. What I'm more interested in it is I'm getting in line to fight nerds. I will go in there and fight just to get those Pokemon cards.
That's it. Like that's what comes up on for some reason on my Instagram like timeline. That's what's showing up lately. I sent you one the other day, and it's like people fighting over Pokemon, and I'm just wild. Like, that's what it is.
I'm like, where is it at? Let me join.
Yeah. So there's, but yeah, that's kind of crazy to see too. Is like kind of see the resurgence of Pokemon, and like everybody's into it, and it's not just like nerds. It's like so many people. I think a lot of. It is a lot of people who are like doing it for the money aspect, right?
100%. There's the scalpers, there's the real collectors, and then there's fathers like me that just want to get it for the enjoyment of opening packs and like the joy of like really starting something new.
And now they have the thing where like you can use like a metal detector or something, and you can see which packs have.
There's the weighing method, and then there's that one that says, oh, this one has a hit. But I don't know. I don't know how valid.
I don't know if people are just making those videos just for like views on social media, but I have seen that as well. So,
but the weight one's legit.
Thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's gonna weigh. Yeah, because it's gonna weigh more. Yeah,
just
interesting.
Slight difference there.
Very very interesting stuff. So we'll move on to kind of what we were doing this week and some tech news, and obviously John, if you want to weigh in on some of this stuff. First, I took a look at a keyboard from HYTE, the HYTE Keeb TKL. And again, I'm not a keyboard expert like John, but I really enjoyed this keyboard, and I feel like HYTE is a company that does things differently, but when they do it, typically they do it quite well. We saw that with their Y series of cases. very different, but also very functional and worked really well. I think for their first keyboard, this is their first keyboard. They've actually done a good job as far as bringing together a keyboard that's going to look incredibly unique. Like you can see it here all lit up, but it's not just the lights. It's actually quite comfortable. It's gasket mounted. It has all the dampening. It has a good sound. And overall, I think it is a really good keyboard, and it has some interesting things about it. I think one of the more interesting things is the multimedia keys right here. These actually use different switches than the switches that are in the keyboard itself. So when you press them, they not only feel different, but they sound different too. So they're like a low profile blue switch. So it's going to be a clicky switch, whereas the other ones are a more linear switch, and they feel and sound different. So you're not some noob trying to hit something and then you hit the escape key or the F1. Like, you know, you're hitting the multimedia keys. Then you see this big monstrosity thing right here. These are actually magnetic rollers. You can set this to do kind of whatever you want by default. This one is for volume and this one's for the brightness on the keyboard. But because they're so obscenely big, it makes it really easy to use those. And this is also good for like scrubbing timelines if you're doing editing or something like that. So I thought that was really cool. Obviously, one of the biggest things with this keyboard is the exterior shell, which is this polycarbonate, which is completely see-through, and that gives you some great lighting, which I'll show you. Again, very different, but it makes it pretty big. This, like, for me, this is a big keyboard. I'm usually a 65% keyboard, sometimes maybe slightly bigger than that. So like a TKL is pretty big for me in general. So it is a decently big keyboard. Now, when you light it up, it looks absolutely.
I forget how many light LEDs were on the back when we saw this. Like, I mean,
there's
last year, but it's wild the amount of lights on the back of this thing.
It's gonna look crazy on your desk. It looks absolutely amazing. And I think some people are, and that's the thing I like about HYTE is like they do stuff that they know people like. There's a certain people will hate this keyboard because of the lights, but then there's certain people that are going to love it as well. And like I said, I do think it looks really, really good, but again, a certain type of person is going to like that. Comfortable wise, this is extremely comfortable. I feel like, again, for their first keyboard, they got it very much right with the amount of dampening and the design and the switches and everything. The switches are hot swappable if you want to swap them out, if you want to. But everything kind of comes together really well for this keyboard. Their software is really easy to use as well. If anybody has used the HYTE Nexus software, very easy. The only thing that they do a lot differently is their RGB lighting is it's not per key. You kind of have this sort of lighting and the effect goes through the device rather than per key RGB lighting. And some people are like sticklers for the per key. There's no per key RGB lighting here.
I will say that, yeah, I am one of those people that's not a big fan of their lighting setup. I know you can do some customizations, but that's the cooler that I put their thick Q60 on my system. And like HYTE Nexus is great, other than I'm not a fan of the lighting. So you just got to get used to it and kind of learn how to use it. But
yeah, it's just a little different. But overall, I really like this keyboard. For their first keyboard, I feel like so many companies like, oh, we're going to make a keyboard. And then it's just like either an OEM product from some Chinese company, or it's just like not thought out or done well. I feel like this was actually thought out and done pretty well for what they were trying to accomplish. Currently, it's $179.99, so it's not necessarily like $100 keyboard or anything like that. But I feel like it's worth the price if this is something that you're looking for. And I do have a typing test if you want to hear my weird typing. It's in there.
I want to see your weird typing.
Yeah, is it visually weird or like,
there's a short form coming out for this soon that you'll see my weird typing. So then you guys can all comment on it.
All right.
John, do you have you reviewed this keyboard?
Yeah, I have it. It's somewhere on my shelf. But you're right. They did do their homework here. And the main reason why is because it's actually a pre-built keyboard, but it has the capabilities of being a custom keyboard by having the hot swap. It's gasket mounted. You can go in, take out the foam if you want. It's modifiable, in other words.
And they've done a lot of things that like you don't see. Like they have the screw-in stabilizers, which are pre-lubed. All the switches are pre-lubed. Like things that give it that good feel they've done, which I really like.
You know they did their homework because the first thing you do when you unbox a keyboard is hit that space bar. If that space bar is rattly or feels like loose or it's just not that satisfying feel, then that's just like an OEM product that they don't really care about. But when you hit that space bar upon, unboxing, butter, smooth, cream, that's nice.
You don't want to hear that pinging sound.
No.
Like
yeah.
Ping, ping,
Ryan
like,
and I both reviewed boards that had the pinging, and we're like, it is such a cool board, but
it's gonna drive me nuts.
That's right.
Yeah. And you can't over time, you just can't use it. Like, yeah, you just can't. So like I said, I think HYTE did a good job here.
Absolutely.
On this. And like I said, I feel like they just do things a little bit differently. And I think that's what's kind of sets them apart. And again, there's going to be people that hate it. There's going to be people that love it. I think if you're looking for crazy RGB, but also a keyboard that's very comfortable, it's going to be kind of a perfect fit for you. So definitely go ahead and check that review out. Next up, we have some storage. Are you a big portable storage guy?
So I've gotten into that mainly because I'm traveling more.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
So I need portable storage, a NAS apparently, and one that automatically saves my stuff in the cloud, which I think that's what NAS is.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
this is a little bit. This is just like almost like a portable SSD. So this is from Patriot. This is their Viper EV330. And it is a M.2 enclosure that essentially is a portable SSD. You install your own M.2 2230, but it's so small. It's super, super small. So it comes as the enclosure. You get a little bumper here, and then you get the screwdriver. And the cool thing is that this little piece right here is actually the Type-C cable. So everything kind of comes together really nicely. And again, I'm like so dumb. I never have stuff here to show people.
That looks like I'm about to be stopped at TSA. Like I bring that to the airport.
You can see the circuit board, right?
They're gonna be like, okay, what is this?
I have a battery
oh yeah. What brand is that?
I forget the brand that I have, but Ugreen?
Ugreen? Is it the Ugreen one?
I forget what it is, but I have a battery pack that's like see-through. You can see the batteries and stuff, and like it looks like a bomb.
Yeah, 100%. It does.
Yeah, it looks like a bomb. But yeah, this thing's really cool because it's super, super small, and you install your own 2230 M.2. So it's the super, super small M.2 that goes into something like an ROG Ally. Simple Type-C, USB 3.2 Gen 2. So you're going to get around 1,000 megabytes a second out of this. You can see that cable, how that comes off there, and you have your Type-C, so you're all good to go. The bumper protects everything, which is really, really nice. Super easy to get inside. This PCB is very small, just enough room for the 2230 M.2 in there. And then
you can put more than one.
No, you can just do one.
Oh, it's just one? Okay.
Yeah, so it's just one. You just install it kind of just like that and then put the whole thing back in. The reason I like this over something like I have so many portable SSDs sitting on, like instead of something, say like this portable SSD, is that this I can't upgrade. This I can go ahead and upgrade, right? Like I can swap out another 2230, or like say I'm not using this, I can put that 2230 into like an ROG Ally or another device that would take a 2230. I don't necessarily lose it. Whereas like if I stop using this, I stop using it. I can't open this up and take a drive out, you know. That's the reason I like this. It just makes it super, super easy. As you can see, right around 1,000 megabytes a second when it comes to performance here. And it's $27.99. It's not really expensive. Of course, you have to provide your own M.2,
right?
And those prices can obviously range depending on the size. But for $27, I think it's a solid little device. And again, it's just super, super small. I have it in my book bag right now because it's just super easy to take with me. Fits in your pocket, no problem. Just a nice little portable device. So if you're into that
cable and making it functional is like top notch, right?
Well, that's the biggest thing is that so many times you're like somewhere and you're like, I forgot the cable.
Forgot the cable.
Like, are you serious? I forgot the cable. Or there like even just, I've done that so many times, whether it's this type of cable, power adapter for the laptop. I'm just like, are you serious? I forgot this. So it's nice to have the cable. It's all one package and you're good to go. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check that out as well. and we'll move on to Case Mod Friday. And Hardline Nexus, it's kind of interesting. You were talking about him. It was not even planned. We feature one of his builds.
That guy's the best.
And it's that Fantex case that you were all like, none of this was planned, which is really interesting.
Lined it up.
Yeah, so none of this was planned. But Hardline Nexus has a build in the Fantex Evolve X2. And this thing looks awesome. Ryan, we talked about this case when it first was announced, and I love the colors here. I'm always a fan of like the white and the blue. Always goes together really well. It looks like we have Bits Power water cooling in here. But the block is that ROG block, which is really interesting because I never expected Asus to come out with something like this. Just the block that has the same screen as their AIO.
No, I like this a lot. That top panel there reminds me a little bit of HYTE, but I do like this case. The color combo is great. I think your comment would be, oh, if only those tubes were frosted, it'd be like perfect. But I think this looks
Ryan,
awesome.
rate the bends on that loop.
Go back.
You can tell he put some good thought into it.
Yeah.
I mean, they make sense. Like a lot of times you'll see people trying to make more complex looking bends by using a ton of fittings, which isn't like my preference. These are good, but they're also pretty simple. Like those are just mostly 90s and 45s, but they make sense and they look good. You don't have tubes going everywhere. Sometimes tubes going everywhere in an abstract mod look good. But this is just like flows together really well. Makes sense. I like straight lines in builds like this.
I agree. So Bob, the reason why I also endorsed the Fantex Easy Fit water cooling kit is because there are no fittings for Fantex. So you are forced to do bends. You are forced to plan, the intricate loop that you want.
I feel like we always say this. I eventually need to do a water cooled
for sure. Build. Do they offer like a bending kit or anything? Oh, it looks like they do. Yeah, they offer a bending kit. Okay.
Very easy to use.
Yeah. But yeah, good build here from Hardline Nexus. We do have his video in the article as well if you want to check it out. But yeah, good stuff. And yeah, he changed it. He changed his official name to Hardline Nexus pretty recently.
Yep. Very recently.
Yeah.
What was the previous name?
His name.
His actual name.
Oh, okay.
Which I'll butcher it, so I'm not going to try to say it. But yeah, no, it's cool to see evolution of again, somebody who is kind of needs the evolution of what he's doing. So it's really cool, and he does really good work too. If you haven't seen some of his stuff, so
yeah, it's all right. Okay.
We're gonna
for context. He's my mentor, so
yeah.
I'm not.
We're gonna clip that and send it to him.
Do it.
But yeah, good stuff from him, and definitely go ahead and check that out. Next up, we have some news. So Radeon RX 9070, and the old man in the chat was talking about this. He said that last night Newegg had 9070 XTs in stock, but they were bundled with a motherboard or power supply, bringing the price to almost $1,000. And the biggest thing was everybody was super excited about the 9070 and 9070 XT because they, on the day of launch, you could get one if you really wanted to, and you could get it at their MSRP. But now the prices are looking like they've been surging, obviously because of demand, and like we talked about with Nvidia, there's no such thing as MSRP anymore. Like the initial stock, once it's out, they're not going to be at MSRP again. And I think, I was thinking actually this morning when I was in the shower, I should make a long video on what's wrong with the GPU market, because we've talked about this for the last few weeks when it comes to MSRP, is that there's an MSRP, but then you can't get any card at the MSRP. And as a reviewer, how are you judging these cards? Because you can't get them at the supposed price anyways. So it's like, is it a good deal it might be a good deal at the MSRP, but if it's the only card you can get is $300 over MSRP, is that a good deal? You know what I mean?
It's tough because people are going to buy it. And that's the problem, is you can't fight it by not buying it to protest, because other people are going to buy it and they're going to sell out and they're going to sell them all. and to them that's a successful launch. So like it's a very tough situation from our perspective, right?
Yeah, I think that's the I don't know, it's just tough. The GPU market is so crazy right now. That's what like John, would you think if you were going to buy, or if you were going to spend money on a new GPU? I know you have 4080, but say you had like a 2080. Like, what would you, if you had the choice to buy something with your own money, what would you buy right now?
All right, so funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you know who Peachy Tech is, Christina.
Yes.
But me and her were going to, we were going to plan on going to Micro Center launch date for the 50 series cards. And the one I was after was the 5080 Founders Edition or 5070, whichever 50 series Founders Edition I can get my hands on. That's what I was going to get. So we planned to like go in line at get in line at 5 to 6 a.m. before 5 hours before opening. Only to find out, so we're pretty far from Micro Center, right, Bob?
Yeah.
I get a call at 4 a.m. and I was about to leave, and she was like, "Oh, don't even try because all the vouchers are already given out." And I'm like, it doesn't even open till another 6 hours, right? But she's
they only had I don't know which 50 series you're talking about, but there weren't that many vouchers either.
I think there was 200 max, but most of them were the other. They weren't NVIDIA branded.
Yeah,
they were So even if I somehow got one, it wouldn't be the Founders Edition. So it would be that one if I were to choose to get a new graphics card.
I think that's the thing, is that if you can get a Founders Edition, but there's very low supply anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows when NVIDIA is getting more in, and I feel like that's sort of on them. I've talked about this, they should know the demand. Like they knew there was going to be demand for these
They definitely
cars.
know. They're just laughing.
And I feel like like I said, I've hinted at it before, but I feel like they're putting much more money into the AI stuff, which makes sense. Yeah. But it kind of just leaves gamers sort of high and dry. That's kind of until I make my long video. That's all I'm going to say.
It stinks that they also cut supply of the previous generations, right? Like they stopped making the 40 series, so you're in the spot where that's not available and available to discount, right? It's not like they keep making the old thing or they've got a bunch of stock of it and it goes down in price and you can get last generation on sale. Like that's not a thing anymore.
Mm-hmm. And everybody who maybe had a 40 series who's like, I'm just going to sell it to make some money, they're also price gouging everybody too, because they know that the market is so high right now. If you have a card that you're not using, or that you need some money, you can sell that card probably at the same price or more than what you got it for, right?
Yeah.
So it's just bad. We have one of your friends in here.
John the GOAT.
Yeah. What's up, New Yorker? Shout out to you, man.
Also talking about NVIDIA, though, we do have RTX 5050, RTX 5060, and RTX 5060 Ti. Apparently, from what I heard today, the 5060 and 5060 Ti should be announced tomorrow as we're recording this, which would be kind of interesting. Typically 60 series is the card that sells the most volume. Now, it's just like with anything, will this card be available to purchase? I honestly don't know if there's going to be a Founders Edition. If there's not, how many cards are going to be at whatever the MSRP is going to be. I think it's so hard after how the RTX 50 series launch has gone to get excited about these cards, because who knows if somebody can get them, who knows performance, who knows, what the deal is going to be. Because I feel like the 50 series has kind of been a disappointment unless you're able to get a card at MSRP.
I think this makes for a really challenging launch for NVIDIA too, after AMD launched the 9070 and 9070 XT for the prices that they did, right? Yeah. Because in theory, you could have expected to see these cards almost launch at those prices, because AMD's price were so much lower than the 70 series, right? So now what does NVIDIA have to do to make this a enticing option?
They have
that's kind of what's exciting about the story to me.
Yeah. They gotta meet that demand.
And that RTX 5050 is very interesting, because we didn't see a 4050. Are they going to go down that low? And again, as you get down that low, you also have that competition with Intel in the ARC cards. So we'll see what happens. But the more cards that are in the market, I think that just makes me happy, because I hate when friends, and I'm sure John, you have like friends that want to build PCs, and you're like, yeah, you can't get any graphics cards right now. It makes it really tough.
And you can't just say wait 6 months, because those are going to sell out too.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. Also, something we talked about a little bit, somebody, who was that in the comments in the live chat last week, was talking about this, how modders were able to inject AMD FSR4 into DLSS 2 plus games, or games that support Intel XeSS. So if your game doesn't support AMD FSR4, say like Cyberpunk, it does not, at least currently, but you can, using this process, you can inject it, making more games compatible with AMD FSR4. Kind of interesting. And I think I really like this, because that's the biggest thing when we talk about these technologies, whether it's DLSS or AMD FSR4 or any of these things. It's like, okay, well, the game I'm playing doesn't support it. But if we get to more of this type of thing where it's just like a toggle you can turn on and now your game supports it, I think it's really cool. Now, we have links to everything in this of what titles are compatible with this OptiScaler and how all this works. But I'm definitely a fan of this over like, oh, there's only select games, and maybe one game, because NVIDIA paid them or AMD paid them, will only support DLSS, or it's only going to support AMD FSR. It's not both, where like that kind of screws the gamer at the end of the day, because the gamer is, again, I don't think necessarily gamers are choosing graphics cards based on the games they're playing. They're choosing graphics cards based on performance, and like maybe they're a fanboy of one or the other, right?
This is all thanks to AI. No, I'm kidding. There's literally a chart to see how it works.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how it does work, but it's really cool. And I think maybe over time, NVIDIA and AMD will just like use this type of technology to be like, okay, if your game doesn't support it, you can just one click in the NVIDIA settings or in the AMD settings, and then the game will support it, as long as it supports maybe like DirectX or something, you know what I mean? Like it would be one of those things. That's,
I mean, if they came up with like a standard for this that they all agreed to, right? And then they each have their implementation of that standard, and whether they make tweaks to that to be the performance leader or whatever the case may be, that would be optimal, but that doesn't necessarily lead toward profit, right? Like if you can be the one that gets the deal with the
well, that's the biggest thing
that's
too,
coming out.
Most like NVIDIA, especially NVIDIA, they promote this DLSS, especially DLSS, like with the 50 series launch, it was all about DLSS 4. That was like one of the biggest things they're pushing. If that just becomes like something normal, it's not as much of a factor for the end consumer to buy the product. So I can see where they maybe they don't like this.
If they do come up with some sort of standard in between, or I guess like working together, that means, and it opens up to way more opportunity for like the monitors, right? The ones that support. So if you're going to talk about profits, it's definitely the monitors where brands should start looking into. If this
I mean, you had that with G-Sync when G-Sync first came out.
That's right.
It was you had to buy the G-Sync monitor that had the NVIDIA chip on it that did all that.
Everything had to be like
certified for it.
They made it open source now. Like they made it so everything you just finally supported. I think NVIDIA kind of found out that monitor companies didn't care so much, and they just made it part of the software rather than having a hardware chip on there.
It's until there's a game worth, I guess, being wowed at, right?
Yeah, I think that's where like any of these technologies, it has to be pretty. It can't ruin your gameplay. Like that's when like ray tracing came out. It's the same thing. It was like, yeah, it looks cool, but like I'm getting like 12 FPS. It's not worth turning on. And now you can turn it all on, and everything's gotten so much better. But this is something that I think hopefully we could get that one click, and it's kind of like an open source type thing, but who knows? But pretty cool, pretty interesting. Some guys in the chat, Old Man says, it's depressing trying to build a PC now. It's been that way since the 3080 was released. Limited stock, scalper type. Yeah, it's
scalpers and high price.
It's just bad.
Same with the Pokemon cards.
Yeah. And then New Yorker said, I went all the way with the 3000 series came out. I didn't want to go through that again. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing is like we talk about the 30 series and how and that's when we were in a global pandemic and a global chip shortage. And it seems like we are right there again without those things going on in the world. And it's just like, why? Like, how is this a thing? But like I said, it's just how the GPU market is there. Now, talking about the GPU market, we're eventually going to see RTX 50 series laptops come out. They are going to be coming out decently soon. And when you get a mobile gaming laptop, that graphics card is not the same as the desktop graphics card, right? Performance is lower, everything's lower, the TDPs are lower. Well, somebody said, I'm going to make my own desktop class, liquid cooled RTX 5090 gaming laptop, and I'm going to try to sell it on Kickstarter.
Oh man.
And this is a liquid cooled. You can get it up to laptop. You can get it up to it's a big but you can pick your own mini ITX motherboard. You can get up to an RTX 5090 desktop class RTX, and it's liquid cooled, and it has this crazy power connector on the side. It's called it's pretty interesting. There's a video of let's bring this up here.
He's got to have a backpack just to carry it around.
It's like
that looks heavy, dude.
It's pretty big.
I don't know about the trackpad on the side.
Yeah, but it's very, very big. But it is kind of interesting. It's on Kickstarter right now. But the whole thing is liquid cooled. I remember Ryan's so John Ryan used to have this was a big Dell laptop.
I still have it.
Yeah, it was like 10 pounds. It was huge, and he would bring that thing to CES, and I was like, "How do you even use this thing?" And
right here, man. It's a beast.
Yeah, that's it. I thought you had a bigger one than that.
No, it was this.
Okay, that's still pretty big, but like, imagine this. This thing is like the width of like 3 laptops.
I'm not.
I guess, and like, where are you going with this? That
Nowhere.
You need to game. Like, that's the thing with like, like typically a gaming laptop is like a desktop replacement for most people, right? When they go home, or like when they have it so they can take it somewhere to like use it, but typically they bring it home, they connect it to like their 4K screen, and that's how they play. Like, where are you taking this that you need this? That's what I'm wondering.
So this is my take on laptops, and again, this is probably like a hot take, but laptops, they have a lifespan.
Yeah, that too.
They have a lifespan. So if you're water cooling a laptop, you might as well use that money to just water cool your PC. But then what if he's really into the portability part, or just like, really confined space?
So like, out of how many times you've traveled, like you travel, how many times are you busting out a gaming laptop and playing?
Oh, never.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Like,
never.
maybe we're just like old now. Like, we don't
do that.
Yeah. But like, I don't see myself, like, if I'm on vacation, like I'm on vacation, I want to enjoy the vacation. I don't want to be sitting in front of a laptop. Right. I get it as a desktop replacement, and even I even often tell people who want that sort of desktop replacement, get an external GPU. So when you go home, you can play your games, but then you have like this Razer Blade or whatever, super small laptop that you can just take with you. And then when you get home, you connect it to the eGPU and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, I do love seeing stuff like this to see like what people
maybe
kind
it's
of
the
come
new
up with.
Xbox Portable. But that's the reason for handhelds is like, instead of you having like a whole laptop, crazy gaming hotel rig, it's more of like, just whip out the MSI Claw or the ROG.
Yeah, Ally.
Yeah, Ally. So it's like,
it is funny, and like I said, it's on Kickstarter. We have a link to it if you want to buy it. also talking about laptops. So I don't know if John, if you saw at CES, you saw the rollable screen from Lenovo. They had this laptop that had the rollable screen. Well, another company has come out with one. I actually like this implementation better because it makes the screen not taller, it makes it wider. And I'm on a 49-inch ultra wide, so I like more real estate that way. So this company is called Compal, and they have this expandable display that again gives you sort of like you have your normal screen, but then it turns it into sort of like a wide screen. I'm a fan of this. I don't know what you guys think of this.
I agree. I think this is more useful than the vertical screen. Not that I don't like the Lenovo implementation, but to me, it makes more sense to go from that like 4:3 aspect ratio or whatever that is that they're showing to a wider screen. I think there's a lot more practical use.
I mean, the reason I bring a portable monitor is so that I have a second screen. So if it was wide enough to have like 2 tabs open, sure.
Yeah, you cut that in half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this. It goes from 14 to 18 inches. So 18-inch screen, I mean, that's decently big. Yeah, for portable. And the fact that again, it all folds down. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty interesting. Now, Compal is, I believe, Taiwanese company. So I don't know if we would see this, but maybe Lenovo can kind of take a hint and be like, yeah, we don't need the tall screen. We need the wide screen here.
So maybe we'll see that at Computex.
Yeah, probably we'll see this at Computex. So maybe, like I said, as these screens become more widely available and the costs come down too, you'll see more companies do this. Because that's why like portable monitors are so popular, is because people want that second screen. They want 2 windows side by side or whatever they're doing. And this implementation just makes it so much easier. You don't have to take that second device. You don't have to worry about, even though like most of those portable monitors are one cable, you still don't have to worry about any other cables or anything. It just makes it so much easier. And then our last story of the week is a really interesting one. So
this is good.
You order stuff on Amazon. You order a Ryzen CPU, and then it's supposed to be AM5. And then when you get it, it's AM4 for some reason, but it says Ryzen 7 9800X3D on it. Printed on there, but this came from Amazon. It wasn't like you were buying it off some weird website.
Oh no.
So this was a counterfeit Ryzen 7 9800X3D, was sold by Amazon Germany. And it was was this hardware busters? They bought, and it was actually an old AMD FX processor that had this screen on top that was fake. How does this even happen?
It's got to be like some sort of return swap, right?
It has to be.
I mean,
they had the time to print out that screen
sticker.
But how are you doing? So if you're return swapping this, right, as somebody who's
how do you do it in volume?
Yeah,
right?
In volume, right? Because they're gonna see that this guy's buying Ryzen, or he's buying Ryzen processors, returning them.
Or you've got some like supply chain middleman option to
that's how Amazon operates.
Get into that, right?
Yeah.
Get in the middle there and swap them out.
Yeah.
But this AMD FX processor is about 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, at least.
Yeah. And again, a Ryzen 7 9800X3D is an AM5. This is not obviously AM5 because it doesn't have all the grooves and obviously the pins either,
and this one's got pins on the bottom.
So that's what it should look like, and that's what it did look like. Really interesting.
I mean, I got some of those Athlon X4s and Phenom 2s. Maybe I should
go return it to Amazon and
slap a sticker on there.
Yeah, that's all you have to do apparently. Really interesting story. We have the video in the article if you want to see what that's all about, but pretty interesting that it was Amazon, but we can see how that would definitely happen. Talking about what we have coming up on the site next week, I'll be taking a look at a Radeon RX 9070 from ASRock, their Steel Legend. This is the white card. That's all white. That is their highest 9070 Steel Legend. So first,
did they have this in their suite when we saw it?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So first Radeon RX 9000 series card I'm taking a look at. Didn't get a 9070 XT, so I'll have the 9070 for you guys. Should be pretty comparable to a 5070, so that'll be a nice comparison because I do have the 5070. And then I'll also be taking a look at a board that I believe John has, is the ROG Strix
B850.
B850A gaming Wi-Fi, which is an all-white board with a white PCB for AMD. So I'll be taking a look at that as well. So yeah, interesting stuff coming up next week. I have so much stuff into review, guys. It's kind of crazy. So lots of stuff coming, keeping me really busy. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. Now, at the end of each podcast, we do have a question of the week. And obviously, I kind of framed this a question around you, John, because you're somebody who came up on TikTok. Mm-hmm. So if you want to watch tech content, how are you consuming your tech content? Are you doing long form content, short form content? And which platform are you really spending the most time on?
Oh, okay. So throughout the day, it's definitely short form because it's just on my phone. But then when it's time to like script and like kind of, I guess, gather more ideas, 100% long form, like Optimum Tech. I love his videos. Harji, my mentor. So Stuart, GGFE events. So PC tech consumption in terms of content would definitely be long form would be if I have time like at night to like really brainstorm to really know what I want out of this video. And then throughout the day, short form, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter or X.
Yeah.
It's for the memes, but you learn a lot. You consume a lot, you learn a lot. So
I feel like that's how a lot of people have connected in the tech world too. It's just like through X. Like, you just comment on somebody's something and then you start talking and then, oh yeah, I'll be at CS. Like you just meet up with people.
Yeah. I'll get like a random follow and they'll be like the senior PR marketing for so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, I'll follow you back. And then only to find out we'll DM each other and talk. And then they're like, oh, hey, meet us at this event. And then that's pretty much how relationships start. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
X is probably the easiest ways to like really touch base with brands and PR managers. So
yeah, New Yorker said exactly how I met this guy. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's how it is. That is definitely how it is. What about you, Ryan? Like, where are you consuming a lot of your content?
Pretty much almost all long form and right on YouTube, right? Even on my phone, like lunch break or just like when I've got some free time and I want to consume media, it's YouTube long form content. But then I've really been leaning towards like watching on bigger screens, like to relax, like upstairs in the bedroom, sit there with my wife, watch something on YouTube. And I've seen like in some of my metrics, and I don't know if you see this at all, but you can see like where people are watching your content, and like TV has gone way up on my comic channel. Like TV is such a huge proportion of that's where people are watching it, right? They're sitting down, whether in their living room, wherever.
Well, so that's the biggest thing is that
and like podcasts, I'd listen to podcasts all the time.
My TV, it's probably like if you look at like what apps I use on my TV, it's probably 90% YouTube and then like maybe ESPN for hockey and maybe something else. Like I'm always like if I'm watching TV, it's always YouTube. I'm always long form on YouTube all the time. Now, when I'm sitting around, I definitely am on Instagram a lot. And that's like where I connect with a lot of people like tech wise, but like X, and I'm always on X all the time. There's so many cool people, tech creators on X. So I'm on there a lot, but I think if I'm like, if I want to check out a product that I haven't had a chance to review or something like that, always long form. There are so many great creators out there. Like you said, GGF is one. There's so many Optimum Tech, like there's so many great tech creators out there. So I'm always looking for stuff, but yeah, that's kind of how I consume my tech content.
The old channel. And like I said, podcasts as well. Like when I'm driving to and from work, it's always a podcast. So.
Yeah, same. I don't really listen to much music on the road unless I'm like with friends in the car. But most of the time, if I'm by myself, it's all podcasts. So yeah, so that's kind of how I do stuff too. So, but that's kind of it for the podcast this week. Let us know if you like this us bringing on a guest. Let us know what you thought about John. And if you aren't following him, we have all of his links in the show notes. So
appreciate you.
For all of his TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, and Twitter, we have everything on there. Definitely follow him. He has some really cool content. And we appreciate you being on here. Just stick around for a little bit after we end.
You got it.
But yeah, if we don't have any questions for him, I think Ryan, did you have anything else?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, I think got a really good look at what you're doing, and yeah, keep it up. Very, very, like you're getting close to that 1 million followers on TikTok. Like, that's a huge number. That's awesome.
So. You need to have 1 million subs party, and then I'll come.
So, there we go.
Yeah, that's what
we'll get there when we get there, but for now, it's just keep your nose down, head down, just grind it out.
Just grind it out. That's what it's about.
Especially for it not being your full-time job, like the growth and the quality of content, things like that.
I know this is my full-time job, and I feel like I don't have time for anything.
No, compare with each other. No, it's a totally different ball game. But I mean, ThinkComputers podcast. Thank you for having you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Sure. You guys are the best. Bob's the best. Ryan's the best. You guys are down to earth when I first met you guys, and then of course very welcoming. And then if you guys haven't yet check their content out, I'm sure you guys have since you guys are here. But
check it out. Like I said, it's always good to bring.
It's always something new. Yeah, that's the reason why we're in the tech business or industry, because there's always something new to talk about.
We are going to be over on Twitch after this, guys. Ryan runs that stream. Old man had a question for you. What's John's favorite keyboard brand right now? We actually talked about this earlier on the podcast, but if you want to kind of reiterate this.
Yeah, old man, I build my keyboards from the ground up. So I do like custom DIY kits. So QK, QWERTY Keys, and Neo. Neo is owned by QWERTY Keys, but the new Neo line is super, super cool. It's like I want to hit them up after this and be like, hey, send me one of those keyboards, because you can literally take it apart in like seconds. But QK and Neo, I would definitely check those out.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, like I said, we appreciate having you on, and we are going to game after this. Like I was saying, we do that over on Twitch, twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. Ryan, what are we playing this? We're playing Apex?
Sure.
Yeah,
because you're not going to want to play Rivals, so we'll play some Apex.
We'll play some Apex. So catch us over there at twitch.tv/ThinkComputers, and we will see everybody